Well, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into this Adobe Photoshop tutorial brought to you, as always, by tutvid.com. Today, we're going to take a look at how to remove an object from a photo in an advanced scenario. So this is an object where maybe there's a foreground in the way, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be rebuilt, and just generally a photo that you would look at and say, ooh, I can't do that, only to realize that the power of Photoshop is pretty great. And maybe we can do some of this stuff. Now, before we jump into it, today's tutorial is brought to us by my good friends over at squarespace.com. If you ever think you'll need a new website, which most of us do, you got to check out Squarespace. They support this channel by supporting videos just like this one. So if you're thinking of getting a domain, a website, an online store, support our good friends and make it with Squarespace. I got a link down in the description below. You can check out and launch a free trial and then use the code tutvid, that's TUTVID, for 10% off when you're ready to launch your site and become a good, happy, and wonderful paying customer of Squarespace. If you do enjoy this video, guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And without further ado, let's jump in and check this thing out right now. Well, here we are in Adobe Photoshop, and we're going to be getting rid of this guy in this photo. I love these scenarios where I can have a little bit of fun and remove a boyfriend or other from a photo. It's a whole lot of fun, and you can just imagine the backstory, right? We've all been there. So we're going to get rid of him, and in the process have to rebuild sort of the waterway and the bridge and just everything here in the photo. The first thing that I like to do in a scenario such as this is get a selection of what we want to save. We want to preserve her. So I actually created a selection already. It's this woman select channel here. So I can go select and just choose load selection and say, give me the woman select channel and hit OK. And basically what this is selecting is the areas that run into her where we need to remove him, right? So we got his blue shirt back here. We've got obviously him all down her hair and then across the shoulder, the wine glass. Now you can see his blue shirt through the wine glass. We'll tackle that in a little bit. I'll show you how I get rid of that in a little bit. I don't really care about having a perfect selection down here because we're not going to be even messing with that edge at all across there. We want to make sure we get rid of that. And then over here, we've got that. Now we do also have light reflecting off of his blue shirt, coloring the side of her shirt a little bluish, right? So we may have to find a way to soften that up a little bit. All right, so I am going to go back to the channels panel. I'm going to command or control click on that channels thumbnail. That loads the selection as well. I'll go back to my layers panel, and I want to inverse this selection. So select inverse, and it's going to select everything except her. So we're now protecting her. We're up on that new layer. I'm going to zoom in on his arm because I want to get rid of the arm. And my approach generally is not how do I get rid of him, even though I'm saying that. I'm always thinking about how to rebuild the background behind him, because that's how we make getting rid of him look good. We could cover him up with black, and technically he's gone, but that looks really bad. So we want it to look good. Therefore, we think about rebuilding the background. Now, his arm, we're going to tackle this first because we have a simple, soft texture of the water behind him. That's going to be really easy to clone and cover up. So let's begin with that. I'm going to begin by using the clone stamp tool, and I'm going to right-click and make sure that my hardness is set to 0. I want a very soft-edged brush. And then I'm going to alter option click right out here and say, yeah, you know what, let's sample from there and just begin painting up here and see what we get. So that looks pretty good. And then I would just quickly paint over his arm. Don't worry if the edges don't look perfect on either side of our clone. You can see there's a very clear line of demarcation where it's like, yeah, we definitely cloned. Something different is going on there. And then down here at the bottom, we'll just resample and just make sure we get everything covered up. Now, this little line that's very obvious that something went on, we can make that disappear and hide by using the healing brush tool. And again, here with the healing brush, I just have a big, very soft edge brush. And, oh, sorry, not the healing brush. Not the spot healing brush. I want the regular healing brush. I grabbed the wrong tool. We want to just have a big soft edge brush, and I want to set the diffusion to 7. So I'm going to, again, sample maybe up here, and then we're just going to paint over. Now, you may be saying, this looks way better than the clone stamp tool. Why didn't you just use this from the get-go? The reason is because anytime you get close to edges and things, you tend to get some of that sort of halo-y stuff, especially at the high diffusion. And the high diffusion looks really good with blending the water, but really bad up against a hard-edged object. So I'm just kind of using both tools, trying to utilize the strong suit of both tools to get a realistic-looking bit of water here. And then you can go through and just build out or reduce the texture as much as possible. But I think for now, that's pretty good. Maybe there's like a little bit of something that looks like it's going on through there. There we go, something sort of like that. And I can Command or Control D to deselect and just look at what we've got. So part of him's gone. and it's looking good. It's time to make that selection or reselect her, and let's come in here and try to get rid of this shoulder. Now, obviously, we're going to need to make the selection a little bit more complex, and we can do that. So let's go back to the channel, Command or Control click on that channel thumbnail, and I would take this into select and mask. And in here, I'm just going to say, look, I want some help cleaning up these edges of her hair and getting a more realistic selection. So I'm going to use the Refine Edge brush tool. I'm going to paint over her hair right there, and then out to there, and up the side of her hair there. So there we go. Photoshop's going to give us a little bit of help. Is it a perfect selection? Probably not, but I think it'll be good enough. And we're just going to output this straight up to a selection. Hit OK. I'm going to zoom out here. And just take note, we are still just selecting her because we reselected her. So we want to inverse this selection, select inverse. And then we'll go in, and the idea, again, is not to get rid of his shirt, but it's rather to rebuild this little ridge. So I'm looking out here. I can clone from the ridge over here and just paste it right into place. I think that'll look pretty good. So I'm going to grab the clone stamp tool again, a big soft edge brush, maybe a little bit smaller. I'm just using my square bracket keys to make it a little smaller. And let's sample this little bump in the ridge right there. And I can say, yeah, you should line up right around there. And then I'll come in here and just paint and let the selection do its job. And I'll come in and do my job. And there we go. And I can, again, Command or Control D to deselect. And you can look at it. And at this point, you can look and see, you know what, is the selection around the hair realistic enough? Should I go in with the clone stamp and touch something else up? Because one thing I'm looking at here is this part of her arm that looks pretty bad. But that kind of stuff is actually going to be pretty easy to fix, because all we would have to do, because we're working up on a new layer like this, right, we would just apply a layer mask to this layer by hitting the New Layer Mask icon and come in here, and we would use a standard brush and paint with black. The reason we're painting with black is because we want to paint away some of the cover-up layer, the part that's doing damage to her arm. So basically, I can come in here and just paint back her arm and bring it back just so it looks nice and natural again. Just something like that. And then I can flip my foreground and background color, hitting the letter X, trim away that. We don't want her to look like she has little growths on her arm. That would not be very good. And there you go. We just correct that little part of the arm. Well, let's take a quick break here to give Squarespace a quick and proper shout out for sponsoring this video. They have a system that allows you to easily build the most beautiful and easy to use websites out there. You'll have your new website up and running in no time flat. If you want a portfolio, a blog, or a full e-commerce store, you can do it quickly and easily with Squarespace. I built my own personal photography site using Squarespace. I've had it for years. I love it. It's fast, it's mobile friendly, and it is an absolute breeze to update when I want to change photos and make it look different and change colors and swap things out. It's just easy. What else can I say? Check out squarespace.com/tutvid. You can use the link down in the bio of this video for your free trial. No credit card is required. If you decide to launch your website, use the code TUTVID. That's TUTVID to save 10% on your first website. Check them out. Show them a little love for supporting this channel and helping me help you by making these videos. Thank you, Squarespace. We love you. Let's get back to the tutorial. Now, one thing I'm looking at here is this string of lights, and it comes out and attaches to a pole that's probably behind his body. If you want that pole to remain, that would probably be something that we would draw in. I'm going to take the easy route here, and I'm just going to do away with the string lights altogether. So here's a good place where you could use the healing brush tool, and you could just begin right up here and say, yeah, look, lights, we're going to have to until next time. We'll see you then. All right, so I'll just do away with that. I'm going to kind of stay away from the edge of his hair, because if I get down there, you can see it's going to do this kind of poofy, just, you know, not very good thing to us. There we go. Very quickly and easily, we get rid of the lights. That's great. We can rebuild the front side of his body. I think I kind of want to save the bridge until last, but maybe, you know what, maybe not. Maybe we'll attack the bridge now. Let's do the bridge. So here's what we'll do. We'll go back. We'll select her again, Command or Control click. And you know what, actually, I'm going to deselect her. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select this channel, and I'm going to hit Command or Control I. That's going to invert the channel. So now every time we select the channel, we don't have to invert our selection. So Command or Control click on that channel. We automatically have everything selected except her. And now we'll go back to our layer, and let's begin working on this bridge. Now, the nice thing about the bridge is we can clone stamp from like right here and just get the road to connect to where it should connect. So let's do that first. Let's grab our clone stamp tool, and I'll say, yeah, let's grab right around there, and I'm going to make my clone stamp big enough that I can see the road, and we get our little preview so you can line it right up. It can sometimes be tough to line up and then paint exactly where you have to paint. There we go. So we get the bulk of our road taken care of. Maybe I'll paint up and down just a little bit just to establish what we've got going on. Now, obviously, his ear is reappearing over here. So what we'll probably do is select Yeah, maybe we'll select out here again, and we'll just try to touch up. Yeah, just touch that right up in there, something like that. There we go, looking good, looking good. And now what it's going to be a matter of is we've now divided his face. So the top part is going to be reestablishing these cables for this suspension bridge, and the bottom part is going to be rebuild the ridge and then rebuild the water behind him, right? So let's go ahead and try to take care of this cable bridge first. So again, this is a perfect job for the clone stamp tool. I'll admit that maybe here for the side of her head, might have been useful to have that selected as well. But let's go ahead and select the cable right about here. And we can see it's going to go down. It probably won't meet up exactly where it looks like it should, because that's not how these bridges quite work. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller here, and we're going to go through and paint and try to paint right through him, getting and capturing some of the sky, on either side of our little cable. And then the cable's going to run into the bridge somewhere right down around there. And we can rebuild and touch up the bridge a little bit as we need to. Down here, this area right next to her hair, that's probably a good job for the healing brush, but we'll touch that kind of stuff up later. And this little stray hair or whatever's going on there, we'll touch that stuff up later. The idea is going to be get the bulk of him out of the way, and then we'll go back and refine. So let's do the same thing here with this. Now, the sky is working with us on this image because it's a relatively solid color, but every image is different, right? So some, the sky is going to be your best friend, some it's going to be a total nightmare, and it's just going to be a matter of how you approach it and sort of how you attack it. So then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to paint away the part of his hair sticking out there, and then move down, and now the bulk of him is gone. Now, the colors are not quite the way we want them to be. It's like a big, bright blotch. So let's go ahead and start trying to blend all this together. I'm going to fix the road here first because, well, I want that to be fixed. And I think at the same time I can kind of apply the little connection joint right where it should be. So I'm going to go back to my clone stamp tool. I'm going to grab the connection piece here, and this runs down, and it should run into right about there, right? Something like that, and that means that that connection thingy back there would be gone. There we go, that's cool. Let's use our healing brush tool. So let's go to the healing brush tool and clean this area up in here. So what I'll do is I'll select this, and I'll just paint away some of that. Now you can see it's picking up some of her hair, so I want to undo that. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller, and ooh, it's dangerous when we're up in a soft texture to reduce the diffusion too much because it can really make things look bad, but I think it'll be useful. You can see as we get close to the hair, it really helps us out. And then over here along the cable, we can get rid of that, and that's good. Now we need to blend these colors together out here. So let's get sort of the big blotch taken care of, and then we'll come in here between the cables and get that cleaned up. So we'll use a big soft-edged healing brush, diffusion all the way back up to 7, and let's go ahead and try to paint away the bulk of, where we can see obvious difference in the sky. That's great. And then we'll come down our little cable and paint over that and just see what that looks like if we clean it up that way. Look at how much of a difference that makes. It's huge. All right, I'm going to maybe I'll grab the cable right about here, and I'll continue painting it down a little bit. Now you can see we're getting this big fuzzy thing. That's not so good. So what I would probably do here, in order to combat the fuzziness, we just reduce diffusion. So I'll come in here and I'll say, let's try to get close, but with a little less diffusion, so we have a little less. There can be some softness. That's fine because it is out of focus, but still, even that's too much. So let's just go. Let's try to touch this up a little bit more gently as we come through here. There we go, something like that. Let's blend those cables together there. These cables still need to be blended together a little bit there. That's cool. Oh, I'm just slightly off with my cable alignment. It's a little bit of a labor of love, but you know what? So are all good things, right? All right, there we go. I'm gonna try reducing diffusion all the way down to 1, and then I've got one last trick up my sleeve if this still doesn't look good. Yeah, we can see that still looks pretty bad. We're going to set the mode here to replace, and we're going to just make sure we've got a nice soft-edged healing brush to work with, and we're just going to paint that in a little bit just like that, just so we have our little, I don't know, just the connection is coming together nice and looks realistic and not too bright. So if I zoom out, now it looks like the bridge has been fully reconstructed. And again, we could spend more time just, thickening up or thinning those cables a little bit, but I kind of like where it is. So the next step is going to be, let's rebuild this ridge behind his head. We got the cool little bit of bokeh, but I think that's probably a light remaining from the pole that would be back there. In fact, there's that like dark streak that's probably an out of focus, very thin little thing holding up that string light. So we can probably get rid of that. What I can do here is sample probably from the same exact little mountain range using, again, clone stamp. So again, I'm just looking for ways to rebuild the background. I'm not looking to get rid of him so much as rebuild the background. I'm going to select the shoreline here, and the shoreline should probably be right about there, something like that. All right, so we were off a little bit, but we can rebuild here now the ridge line, right, something like that. And then we can use the ridge line here to just continue it across, make sure we get the sky looking just right, and come over, and there we go, something like that. Whoop, let me undo that because I got a little bit of her hair. We don't want her hair. Something kind of like that. That's great. And now it's a matter of going ahead and rebuilding the water. And the water arguably is the easiest texture to rebuild. So let's work with the shoreline. First we'll establish a shoreline, and then we'll just, kill it here with the water. So let's go back to the shoreline. Let's grab the shoreline, and we know it begins right about there. And there we go. We just cover up and establish our shoreline. Great. Just like that. That's good. And then I can come over here and I can begin mixing. So we can say, look, we really want this orangey. The orangey light is really what we've got. Orangey light and texture, I should say. So we really want that in terms of covering him up on this side, which totally makes sense. And we're going to blend our other colors and stuff together using that healing brush that we've been using. There we go. That's great. And I can come in here and just cover him up even more. Voila. There we go, and you can see now we can rebuild all the way to the shoreline. We've got a really soft-edged brush here. We can just rebuild. You can make the brush a little bit bigger, which is going to make that edge even softer, which can help it blend even better. There we go, something like that I think looks good. And again, you can play with it. You can go back and forth in terms of, you can almost see the reduplication of this line in the water, right, multiple times. So that's where using the healing brush and coming in and just saying, look, you should go away. That's good. And then even over here, you should probably be at least mixed up and made to look a little bit differently. That's great. Stuff like that. I'm actually going to Command or Control D to deselect, and we could go in and clean up these edges even more. You can see like that obviously needs to be cleaned up more, and I'll talk to you about that in a little bit right over here. So that needs to be cleaned up more. Let's get rid of this blue, and I think the easiest way to get rid of this is to desaturate it and see what that looks like. And if that doesn't look good, try to shift the color a little bit more toward the color of her skin. That'll probably be the easiest way to go about doing that. So let's open up our adjustments panel, grab a hue saturation adjustment layer, and before I even make any changes, I'll probably try to limit it right to this area. So I'll grab my polygonal lasso tool. I'll say, look, just come right in here, focus all your efforts right on this, and then I'll brush in exactly where I want this hue saturation to be. I'll delete the current layer mask. Yep, delete it. And with this selection now, just hit the new layer mask icon, and now the hue saturation layer is going to be constrained to just this little area. All right, select the hue saturation layer icon, and first of all, let's try to desaturate. And that might look pretty decent. So let's select our mask here. Let's grab the brush, and we're painting with black because we just want to paint away. We want to paint away our effect here. So now when we zoom out, we can see, yeah, it probably needs to be brightened a little bit, and also we should probably add a little bit of the fleshy tone to it. So let's go ahead and tick on Colorize here, and you can see right away it's sort of reddish, which isn't too bad. I want more of like a pinkish reddish, very desaturated. Maybe brighten it a little bit, as we would expect it to look coming through the glass. If I desaturate or saturate a little bit more, maybe it should be more on the red side, red heading toward orange, something like that, right? And you can see we go from that blue to something that's way more. It's not that it should be there. Technically, it shouldn't. But now you can see it doesn't stand out like it did before. And that's the whole goal. All right, then we'll come over here to this blue on the side. And this would be a matter of probably both brightening and desaturating a little bit. So let's again apply. Well, actually, let's make our selection first here. So let's grab with the polygonal lasso tool just this little area. And then we'll go to the adjustments panel and say, yeah, give me another hue saturation adjustment layer. The mask is automatically applied because we created the selection first. Let's select that. Let's try desaturating a little bit and then brightening a little bit. Yeah, that's probably about what we want. Maybe shifting this back toward teal a little. And now it's going to be a matter of blending this. So what we'll do is we'll grab the brush tool, and then I'll just come in here, a very large soft-edged brush, and I'm going to paint with black, and I'm just going to try to blend this together kind of as best I can. And you can see that's very noticeable. So I would take the hue saturation adjustment layer and just reduce the opacity just a little bit, knocked it down to whatever, 50, 60%. you can see there's before, there's after. So we're just loosening it up a little bit, making it look a little bit less the way it should, or the way it would, I'm sorry. And at this point, I would probably also apply a levels or curves adjustment to that area locally, but for the sake of saving some time, we're not going to do it in this case. So touching up the edges is relatively simple, albeit a little time consuming. I use the healing brush tool, set to the replace mode. This is almost how I always do this. A very soft edge brush, very small, and then you just sample and begin just going around and smoothing and covering the areas that need to be smoothed and covered. And it really doesn't take that much time, but it's something where if you just go over and get it all done once and get it done nicely, it really does a lot to make your removal or your object, moving an object from one photo to another, whatever you may be doing. It just does a lot to make it look a whole lot nicer. But you want to make sure you go in and do a nicer job than I'm doing here. I'm kind of doing a shoddy job going through here. All right, and there we go. Something just like that. And, basically we would do the same thing over here on her shoulder. I'm not going to touch that up right at this moment just for the sake of time again. But what we're going to do is look at bringing her hair back that was hanging out here underneath her arm. And we'll do that by shutting this layer off and bringing him back as well, and basically copying this chunk of action up to another layer. So I'm going to select my background layer. I'm going to grab just the regular rectangular marquee tool and drag this selection over that area and hit Command or Control J to duplicate that up to a new layer. And then I will drag it above our new covered up layer. So you can see now we have just that. So what I'll do is grab my quick selection tool here, and I'll go ahead. Well, I'm just going to undo that. I want to make sure I select the hair here and just be nice and ginger about it. We can always clean up the edges later. I'll select this little bit right in here. Again, it's almost better to select less rather than more, and then try to get this little bit down here if it allows us. If not, maybe we'll live without that little bit of hair there. But this hair I think would look kind of decent. Let's go to Select and Mask, and what we'll do here is really utilize our Refine Edge brush tool. And I'll just go ahead and paint away and say, look, just keep the hair, paint away all that background junk, and give us all these extra little fragments or frizzly bits that are hanging out. That's good. There we go. Paint that, and we can just see. We can see if this does a nice job for us or not. I don't know. Sometimes this tool can be a little hit or miss. We can go with selection, or what we can do is say, look, apply a layer mask to this layer. I can hit OK, and you can see there we go. We have that hair. Now it looks pretty bad because, well, it's not lined up exactly perfectly. There's a couple things we can do. We can work with this sort of totally out of context because it's its own layer. So we can manually just say, you know what, then just nudge the hair over a little bit. Make it look the way that it should. And zoom out, and then we have our hair back in place. Then, of course, it probably should be made a little fuller and not so frizzly looking. So select the mask, right? I clicked on the mask for that hair layer. I would probably grab the brush tool, set it to like soft light, and paint with my foreground color set to white, and then just paint over the stuff to try to fill out the hair a little bit more the way that it was. And the trick here would be you have some serious blue fringing, courtesy of the blue shirt that was underneath the hair, because hair is semi-opaque, so you're going to have some color sort of translate through. So the way I would get rid of that, select the layer, and let's do a destructive edit here. Let's go Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, and we're just on this layer. I'm going to say, look, target those blues, and try to just desaturate them, number one. That's okay. And also shift them back more toward the red-brown. And we'll do the same thing with cyans and purples. So we'll desaturate and we'll move them back. And we'll also, magentas, and we'll desaturate and move them back and hit OK. And you can see that gets rid of that purple fringing, makes it look a little bit more realistic. But almost, I don't know, I guess make the argument that the hair being out there is almost more distracting. But hey, that's the way it was in the photo. So, seeing it for the first time, it would have to be somewhat believable. And there you have it. That's really it. That's the process of rebuilding a background using cloning and healing tools. And there is before, and there is after. We have gotten rid of him. And again, some of the edges here along her hair, that needs to be cleaned up, and along the shoulder, and get rid of some of the blue fringing. But all those techniques we've already covered using the Select and Mask tools and using a hue saturation layer and target the blues and magentas and just get rid of that the color fringing in those edges. Ah, yes, there you have it. We removed him. We got rid of him and learned a whole bunch about removing objects and rebuilding a background in Photoshop. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel by hitting that little red button, or whatever color the button is at the point in which you are watching this video, for learning all about the healing tools and brushing and masking and just everything we covered in this video tutorial and a whole lot more. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Get it, got it, good. Nathaniel Dodson, tutvid.com. I'll catch you in the next one. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more great tutorials every day. Also, buy my course. It helps us do what we do, and this channel is supported by viewers just like you. You can also just click the thumbnail and watch another video from this channel. See you next time, guys.